Mr. President, when the Jobs Act and tax cut bill was signed into law in December, we heard a lot of things about what was going to immediately happen. This was going to be a tax cut for the rich. Corporations were going to use their money to buy back their stock and not share it with the people that work for them. The Senate, as divided and on a partisan basis as the Senate could be, every person in the majority who was here voted for the tax bill. Every person in the minority voted against the tax bill. We heard from some of the leaders of the other side that it would be Armageddon. We heard from President Obama's Treasury Secretary that 10,000 people would die every year if the tax bill was signed into law. We heard that the average family would only get crumbs and scraps from the tax bill. It's turning out that that's not what appears to be happening at all. Not only have companies stepped up to show that in a growing economy, an economy they believe is going to grow, that they value the people they work with and they value the employees of their company in a way that we wouldn't have anticipated. I thought this would happen as we saw the economy take off from the tax bill. It didn't occur to most of us that companies would step up on day one and say, we're going to value and show our value to the people that work for us. Over, I think 3.8 million people now have received over $4 billion in bonuses. A lot of those happened in my state. A lot of those things happened in Missouri. The Central Bank of St. Louis, which has over 2,000 people, gave a $1,000 bonus to all their full-time employees, and the 246 part-time employees they had will get a $500 bonus. Charter Communications gave an announcement, as many people have, that they're going to increase their own minimum. Whatever their minimum salaries had been in the past, those are going to be higher now. You know, the very best kind of minimum wage increase is when you're increasing your minimum wage because you believe that's the fair thing to do for your employees, and also because you believe it's what you need to do to keep good employees in a rising economy. And so we've seen that. I think, Mr. President, we've gotten so used to the stagnant economy of the last 8 or so years that people have forgot what happens when the economy begins to grow. So Charter Communications now increasing their minimum wage to $15 an hour. Commerce Bank shares in Kansas City, they have more than 2,300 employees in Missouri, and they gave a $1,000 bonus to all of their full-time employees and a $250 bonus to their part-time employees. Mid-America Metal Forming in Southwest Missouri gave all 140 of their employees a cash bonus. This is not, Mr. President, about just big companies. This is about little companies looking at how they want to grow and knowing that to grow, they need to keep a workforce that can be part of that growth. Great Southern Bank in my hometown in Springfield, has over 800 Missouri employees. They gave, again, a $1,000 bonus to the full-time employees and a $500 bonus to the part-time employees. 25,700 Missourians work for Walmart. They're raising, not only are they giving bonuses, but they're raising their starting wage for full-time employees to just under $14 an hour, substantially higher than the wage otherwise. Doesn't sound like crumbs to people who are getting those bonuses, and they're seeing what they can do with them. Solomon Essex, who's a warehouse worker for Dynamic Fasteners in Raytown, told us he was using his $1,000 to help his daughter buy a car. Mary Beth Hartman, who owns a construction company in Springfield, said, one, I've been able to offer my longtime employees a week vacation that they didn't have before. They're getting plenty of overtime. They have job security, and also she's creating new jobs in her business. It's a good start, but there are, I think, even more announcements ahead and more good opportunity ahead. I said, and Senator Capito and I were on the floor before talking about this before the bill passed, I said several times there are two ways to increase your take-home pay. One is for the government to take less out of it, and another one is for you to get a better job to start with. And we're already beginning to see both of those things happen. When you double the standard deduction, when you double the child tax credit, when you lower the rates, new code just allows you to have more money. Now, our friends on the other side said that people wouldn't get a tax cut. This was just for their, it's 90% of workers in the country that have income tax deducted from their paycheck are going to have less income tax deducted on the same pay in February than they would have had in December. And what does that mean? The Boone County clerk, this is Columbia, Missouri, the home of the University of Missouri, and I will want to mention here that the University of Missouri just beat Kentucky in basketball for the first time since we got into the SEC a handful of years ago. I wouldn't want to let that go unmentioned. But the Boone County clerk announced that he had run the payroll for the first time for all county employees, all 485 of them, and the average county employee was getting $150.54 a month more than they were getting on that same salary last year. And many of those employees, by the way, have two people at their house working. So this is just the one salary, an average of $150.54. That's about $1,800 a year, obviously. A brand new deputy sheriff who in Boone County earns $45,905 will have an extra $1,929 this year that they didn't have if they started that same job in November or December of last year. $1,929 does a lot of things. $200 a month only seems like a lot if you don't have it. I think all of us are hearing, by the way, that calculates in Boone County, that payroll for 485 people calculates right at $945,000 a year that those employees will have that in the past they would have sent to the federal government. And some of it will be saved, some of it will be spent. When I was flying back from Kansas City on Sunday, a guy behind me on the plane as we were getting off tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Thanks for the tax cut. My wife and I," he said, "just got our first checks with the new tax rates, and we're going to have $5,000 more this year than we had last year." And he said, "We're going to put every penny of it in our kids' college savings account, and we're really happy about it." We're really happy about it. What we do here, we don't actually hear that often. People say, "We're really happy about something you've done because it's going to make a difference for the future of our family." But this tax bill will. For a single parent with one child in Missouri that makes $41,000 a year, their taxes are going to go down 75%. They'll have that single parent with their one child will have $1,400 more this year than they had last year. Over $100 every single month. If you're a family of four and you make about $75,000, you'll have $2,000 more. That's a 50% tax cut for that family. And that's a lot of things. It's for most people, that's 2 months worth of groceries. It's a lot of gasoline. It's an electric bill. Oh, and by the way, if you get your electricity from a privately owned electric company, like many people do, they're having to refile also. In 47 states, some of the electric companies are going to be reducing their rates. Now, if you've got a rural electric co-op like my farm in Stratford has, or a public utility like my house in Springfield has, I won't get that tax cut, but lots of Missourians are served. They get their electricity from somebody that pays taxes. And if you pay taxes, you're going to be reducing your electric bill because that was figured, that 35% rate was figured into your electric, what you were allowed to charge. Now you're paying 20%. That basically is money you're going to be giving back to the families and businesses you serve. Helping families means ensuring that they have more opportunities in the future. Being part of a growing economy means you're going to have more opportunities in the future. We are seeing all those things happen, and I think we're going to continue to see them happen, not just big businesses like AT&T and Boeing and Apple, but who, by the way, just brought all of the money they had earned outside the country back home. They just announced bringing 100% of everything back that they would have not brought back at a 35% rate, but they're glad to bring back at the rate in this tax bill, and glad to see us be, all those companies, in a more competitive marketplace, just like small businesses are. So even though the law went into effect just a little over a month ago, I think we're seeing the kind of reaction we would have hoped for. Families are beginning to see that what they were told about the tax bill wasn't true. You know, if you're going to say something that's not true, you should never want to do that, but surely you should not want to do it when 60 days you're going to be proven not true in the one thing that everybody looks at, which is a bigger paycheck than they had 60 days ago. So in spite of what was said, 9 out of 10 workers are going to have a bigger paycheck, and those are hardworking families. The people that are going to have a paycheck that doesn't benefit from the tax cut are the people at the richest end of the tax scale, not the other end of the tax scale. So, Mr. President, I think we're off to a good start. I think we ought to be talking about a growing economy, and all of us ought to be watching, after a decade of not seeing the economy grow, what's happened over the last few months and what really happens now as we move to a better place for families, a better place for jobs, a better place for competition, because of the tax bill we passed in December and the president signed into law.